So, hi, I'm Matthew Porter. I'm running for SGA president, and this is my running mate, DINIUS. And our platform is called Own Your Legacy, and Own Your Legacy was really born when Kat and I sat in club funding together. And we saw when student presidents, club presidents would come up and just showcase their talents and then combine those talents with the opportunities that student government provides, they would create amazing things. And so from the start, Kat and I knew that increasing student initiatives, offering it to the whole student body, that's our platform. And then we got the news that student government was being split into two different departments, and we were losing our mock rock, losing our pumpkin pie. And the question then became, well, when these things that students care so much about are gone, how do we stay relevant? And so we had to answer two questions. How do we keep student government relevant while also increasing student initiatives across the board? And so Kat and I researched student governments from other universities heavily, and we combined the knowledge we gained from that with the knowledge that we already have in our own experience in AS, and we've nailed down 3 concrete ways that we believe will both keep student government relevant next year while also increasing student initiatives. So first off, we have fireside chats, which will allow open dialogue between Kat and I and the student body. And then we have the online bulletin board, where students can advertise themselves and their initiatives free of charge in a centralized location that's student to student. And then finally, we have a brand new House of Representatives. Kat and I saw that multiple schools do this, and it works out so well because it allows multiple departments from all around the university to participate in student government, bettering the relationships between the two parties and just allowing an amazing amount of participation in student government. And so where student initiatives, where we're increasing that, is training the representatives from these departments like Res Life, Torrey, Chapel. They'll be trained in how to propose on behalf of their constituents, and so we want student initiatives just bouncing into our office all the time. And so we know that with these brand new ways, we'll give students the tools to truly own their legacy, and that's where the title of our platform comes from, just empowering the student body just through new ways. And that's our platform. Yeah.
Hi guys, my name is STRIBBLING. This is my partner Drew MATTOCKS. So our platform is internal change, external growth. And 2 of our first key points are we really want to increase student advocacy and representation because that's going to be the main job of SGA next year. And one way we really want to do that are increase and improve student forums. We actually already have student forums, but they're very rare and they're not promoted in a way that students actually effectively know how to go to them. And so we really want to improve and increase those so that instead of you guys coming to us and voicing your needs, we can actually bring administration to listen to you, and you can be updated on decisions being made on your behalf. And our second key point is really unifying the relationship between all student leaders on campus. And as a current RA, I've worked behind scenes to work with different departments to plan events. And I find that if we are unified in our student leadership, we can better stay aware of needs of the students, and just kind of work more effectively to serve you guys and to bring you into that and to kind of empower you guys through those unified relationships.
Thank you.
Great, thank you guys.
Oh, we're not done.
My bad.
So the third way that we really just want to bring our passion to you guys is through the Senate. Each one of you is represented by a senator, and sometimes when you talk to them, words can fall flat. I have such a passion against that. I want each word that you guys say to your senator to mean something, to know that your word will come to me as the VP. I want the words to have weight behind them. And in order to do that, we need to increase training to senators. Senators need to know how to do their job on day 1, not halfway through the 2nd semester. This is something that's so passionate in my heart, that senators are so important, and yet sometimes they feel like they're not. They need to know how important they are, and through training, they can feel that. And our final way that we want to increase the change inside, but also have that affect you, is through increasing relationship with La Mirada. The Biola bubble exists. There's no way around it. We want to pop that bubble. We want to go across the street over to La Mirada, and we want to talk with their city council. We want to talk with people in high places in La Mirada, not just stay in here. And that might not sound like it affects you, but it surely can. Last year we had a farmer's market, and that was such a cool way to connect businesses to you guys. And we want to increase those and have more of those. So that is why internal change and external growth is so essential to Biola University.
So the first question for Reporter DINIUS is, the idea of providing an online bulletin board is a key component of your platform. You may already know that UCM and IT are already in the process of building an online event calendar to be used campus-wide for students. Please elaborate on how your plan might be different or preferable to what the university plans to provide.
But the online bulletin board is a key component of our platform. We've noticed the advertisements on campus and how students are able to post their initiatives online. But what we want to do is create an online bulletin board that's centralized, a way for students to talk to students. We've noticed that UCM and IT does have these external websites, or they're creating them, but we want to also additionally have a student-only website where students can post about books that they're going to sell. We've probably seen those on Facebook with like their own Facebook pages, or events that they want to have on campus. This is going to be purely student communication.
Yeah, so this was one of the things we found when researching other student governments, and the bulletin board aspect is just kind of like a starting point. We want to build from there and have it do those functions that Kat was talking about setting up book sales between students, about setting up rides to and from the airport. But they have like a fantastic student-only website where you can do all of these things, and we want to start out with the bulletin board, which we know is relevant to UCM and ITs, but we also want to expand upon it in those other areas like book sales and like setting up rides with other students. And so, yeah.
So the website is not up, UCM has not created it yet. So what platform do you guys plan on using? They haven't even created it yet, so how are you going to know already how it's going to be different?
I'll just say it. I think that would just have to take a meeting separately with UCM and IT and finding out their vision, since they did begin this idea, and great minds do think alike. But just not overlapping on any of these ideas that they may have, and being able to just create another additional resource for students.
The question to you is, according to your application, the second point of your campaign platform is about enhancing student programs. Please elaborate on this plan and comment on how you would accomplish this point in light of the recent split between SGA and student programming and activities.
So we really think that by unifying the relationship between student leaders is the best way to enhance student programs. Essentially what we're doing in all of our leadership positions is serving you guys. And so if we were more unified in that, we would be able to better understand the needs from all angles of campus, and also be able to collaborate together so that our programs aren't just affecting students in their own departments, but we're actually going to be unified in those. And one of the key ways we want to work to do that is by having a leadership summit. And this is just going to be a time for all student leaders on campus to come together and to really be trained to do their jobs better, and just to be empowered, because I think a lot of times we stay in our own organizations and we kind of feel the need to build relationships within. Like I know Res Life, we're such a huge body, But if we were to branch out between SMU and SOS, and even workers in facilities or CAF student managers, we all essentially hear what you guys need. And so if we're working together, if we're being trained by those who are above us, who are empowering us, we're going to be able to do our jobs more effectively. And I think that's so important to bring students into that, but to also work on their behalf.
So the follow-up question would be, you talked about unification among all the student leaders on campus, and you just mentioned this summit. But to me, it seems like the unification is such a big part of your platform. Is there any way you plan on doing some sort of continual unification or communication between the parties other than just this summit?
Yes, so I think with the new structure coming to SGA, it would really give me enough time to start being intentional about those relationships, and so it doesn't just stop there. It gets to continue and hopefully start to build for the future leaders. So it's really just about planting that seed and using it as a stepping stone, because I think it's really important for us not to just think inside the box, but to really be thinking outside the box. And if we start building those relationships, we would love to be continually being intentional about that, even with students. And so it's not just going to stop at us being leaders. We really want to work over the year to make that happen for the students' needs.
And also, the Leadership Summit is not just going to be a one-time event. Also, just like our platform statement, internal change, external growth, those changes make differences throughout the year. So that means at the Leadership Summit, we're going to create networking time so that people can connect together, and then therefore take that relationship that is formed and use it throughout the semester and throughout their time at Biola, and also pass that on to future generations of Biola leaders.
Thank you.
So the first one is going to go to Porter DINIUS. The question is, as currently structured, the amount of student issues and ideas are not enough to where more representatives are needed. How are you planning to implement a House of Representatives while keeping the Senate role sustainable and relevant?
So the Senate role is, we're looking at it as a completely different function. The Senate role is student representation of the dorms, whereas the House of Representatives is student representation per department. So what that does is, while we get the voice from the students, we also get the voice from the departments. So while Senates more represent like their individual constituents, the House of Reps representative would represent their department. And what we're doing with the House of Reps is we want them to work in conjunction with the Senate a lot. I said earlier that we are going to train them on how to propose to the Senate very well, because one of the biggest aspects of the House of Representatives that we want is them proposing for initiatives on behalf of their department. The example we throw out a lot is athletics wanting to put on a barbecue before one of their games, and their representative knowing exactly how to go to the Senate and propose for this and get it done. So instead of one department kind of undermining the other, they both have different roles that work in conjunction with each other. Did that answer? I don't know.
Yeah, so to kind of piggyback along with that, in the athletics, how are you going to be specifying departments? How are you expecting like 60 plus representatives? How are you going to go about divvying that up?
Okay, so we were planning on, since it's the first year, not stretching ourselves too thin with the House of Reps, ending on about 12 to 15 departments, and those departments will be chosen by Kat and I. And what we'll do is we'll go to the department heads and say, can you nominate somebody for this that you think would be exceptional at the job? So it's not Kat and I going and saying, hey, you're a really smart Tory student, we want you a part of this. We'd be speaking to department heads and saying, hey, is there anyone you have in mind that would be great at this position? And keeping it, we don't want to make it bigger than we think it's it has the legs to stand on. We want to keep it smaller, see if it works, see how well it works, and then expand upon it based upon the areas where we feel it needs to be expanded upon.
This one is directed specifically at MATTOCKS.
Yes.
You mentioned increasing Senate training. What would this increase in training look like, and how would it benefit the student body? I guess furthermore, what are some concrete training changes you would make?
So one big thing that I want to do is start bringing in external voices to Senate. Anything that I've learned through my leadership experience is that other people are smarter than me and other people have more knowledge than I do. It's just the fact. And I think each senator can value so much from so many different people, whether that's bringing in Dr. Ariana Malloy to talk about communication and how they can communicate better with each resident so their rounds are more effective. Or also bring in people from the business department to talk about how to accurately propose and how to inform their residents about more accurately getting proposals in. So therefore, we can increase the proposals and make them better. I don't know how many times people came in unprepared for proposals, and the senators could have helped them out, and they could have done such a good job. And I know I was at fault at that time too. I'm not perfect. So I think by bringing in external resources, it makes all of the Senate better. And when the Senate's better, Biola University students profit.
So a follow-up to that would be the fact that external voices are already being brought in regularly. Actually, Dr. Malloy has been into the Senate for training. So how is your plan different and or new?
When I was a senator, I was the Emerson senator last year. I just know from my personal experiences, I didn't receive a lot of training on specific roles. I didn't get a lot of training on how to do proposals and how to help them outside of that first week of training. That was big, and it was a 40-hour week, and it was done after that. And I felt that either reminders throughout the semester or just bringing in more and more voices, the change will actually increase more time in the Senate because we're not going to get as many internal proposals from, hey, I need to transfer $200 from this account to this account. That will be cut down by the SGA-SPA split. So therefore, I can bring more time to have external voices come in and help.
For Porter DINIUS. So with this new split that is happening next year, there's a lot of talk about replicating other schools' student government. What creativity will you bring to the table?
So basically the way I would respond to that is because of this split, we don't exactly know how SGA is going to function well. We're losing the things that students care about. The mock rock, the pumpkin pie, that's what students want, and we're losing that. So I guess what Kat and I have tried to do is not say, hey, I have this great idea, never been done before, let's throw it in now. Now is not the time to get like super creative and new with it, because the goal Kat and I want to do is make SGA successful. And the way we're going to make it successful is seeing how other schools have done it. We have never had a student government that's split from all of those student programming and activities. So I guess I'd say now is not the time for us to get super creative. Now is the time to put in these new initiatives that are proven to work and make SGA remain relevant in spite of everything we're losing.
This is to Sterling MATTOCKS. The university has been working for years to build a relationship with the city of La Mirada. What tangible things do you plan to do to establish a relationship with the city, considering your term is only for 1 year?
Great question. So one of the first tangible ways that Drew had already mentioned was the farmers markets. And being a part of those, it's a really awesome time for Biola students to come out on the lawn and hang out and get involved. And it's just a really fun community event, but it's also bringing in people from La Mirada so that they're servicing us, but we're also servicing them. And I think it's important to start small, and something very tangible like that can actually lead to other ways of building relationships. And I think by being an RA and getting to lead first-year RAs into the local community to do service projects, I've already experienced what it's like to build a relationship with people in the outside community. And so we already kind of have an advantage of working and empowering people to reach out into the local community, because that's also really, really important.
All right, thank you guys for coming out here and listening. I'm excited to share my heart for Biola and for SMU. So it's so cool that you're here. I just went to the store and bought these. I'm not in a relationship or dating anyone right now, but I did buy these to share an illustration from this guy named John Piper, Pastor John Piper, and he talks about him going home one day and meeting his wife at the door. Okay, so he knocks on the door and his wife meets him. And he's got these flowers, and he comes out and he says, "These are for you." And his wife, is shocked, and she's like, "Oh, honey, that was so nice of you. You didn't have to do that. Like, why'd you do that?" And then imagine this, imagine John Piper handing his wife the flowers and saying, "Oh, it's my duty. It's just like, I'm your husband. It's kind of what I got to do." And basically, like, you think about it, like, how. Do you think the wife would feel honored? Like, no, like that's totally, like she wouldn't feel honored if he did that. And a lot of times we can approach God and we can be like, yeah, it's my duty to serve you, God. It's like, I know I'm at church, I should worship you. And it's this cold kind of like, like I have to, instead of delight, instead of like, God, I love you, I'm so like giddy to give you these flowers right now. And so my heart for Biola, for us, is that we would like fall in love with God, and that would overflow into ministry. I think that ministry is just the overflow of your love relationship with Jesus. And so that's like my vision statement is gather to worship, scatter to witness. Is like enjoying leads to exalting, savoring leads to spreading. It's this passion that leads to actually proclaiming the gospel. And so my desire as SMU president is that my staff, first and foremost, would enjoy the Lord and just grow, and so me just pouring into them and developing them so that they can develop those under them into this relationship, because that's what God wants. He wants lovers. He wants people who are passionate about Him. Because you think about it, like you can't go out into the community and tell people like God's awesome if you're not enjoying Him yourself. And you can't say like taste and see that the Lord is good if you're not really like doing that. And so that's just my heart. And so there's three ways that I kind of want to do that. One is I think we can have a fear of sharing the gospel because we don't really know how to explain that and what that looks like. And so I want to have gospel training workshops where students can actually learn what it looks like practically to share about Jesus. And then I want to take students out into the community and share the gospel in groups. And then finally, I like really want to pour into the staff, the SMU staff, and develop them well and care for them so that they can shepherd those under them. So yeah, it's my heart.
Thank you, Brady. Now for your first question, you'll have 3 minutes to answer the following question. What specific ways do you plan to create opportunities for students to utilize their various skills within SMU?
Yeah, I really want to be a good listener to my staff and just listen to what they want to do in their heart. And so SMU is a great community that fosters, listening and just one-on-ones and two-on-ones and getting to know each other. And so, yeah, everyone is creative and everyone has their own desires and dreams of what they want to do. And so I do really want to be open to what my staff desires, and I would just be listening to them yeah, just fostering that community. Like I don't know. I want it to be a family, like this family, and not like a clique, but like a family, like where we actually get around like a campfire and worship and just spend time together. And I just want to create a community of trust and vulnerability in SMU. Like I know that I would be their boss, but I really want to get to know them and be their friend and hang out and stuff. And so we get to know each other and actually get to know their heart. And I think that would just foster, like they can share their desires, and ultimately, like the people who would be on the staff next year, like I just want them to love the Lord, like first and foremost. I think there's a cool quote. It says, "Ministry isn't everything, Jesus is." And so, like, just to know that, like, hey, first and foremost, it's about Jesus, and let's keep the main thing. But then, like, let's use your gifts and how you want to like reach the world. Let's hear that, so then we can do that. And yeah, I mean, I do magic tricks and stuff, and so it's kind of creative, and you can use that to share about Jesus, and everyone has their own different thing. So yeah.
How do you plan on bridging the communication gap that currently exists between student leadership and the general Biola student population? In other words, how are you going to make sure that Biola knows what SMU is doing?
That's good. Well, I think, one way is I'm going to be out of my office more. I want to actually get out into the community and talk to people. And we've already kind of started doing that on the campaign team. There was a research team on my team, and these are people who just created surveys and gave them out to their friends and random people. And so today I was just looking at a stack of like 10 papers, and they have questions like, what is SMU? Like, what do they do? Do you know what impact teams are? Like any like things that we can improve on. And so I got to read from students like what they actually know about SMU, which was so enlightening for me to hear, because a lot of people just think that SMU sends out mission teams and runs missions conference, and there's a lot more. And so I just that was just one way that our campaign team utilized this week to actually get to know what students hear about, because I do really desire to know what students know about SMU, but I'm one person, and so it was awesome to have a team who could actually go out and do that. So yeah, and next year, I mean, I want, like I said, I want a staff who's a family but not a clique, and so I want us to be out into the community more, talking to people like, what do you think about SMU?
Actually, going off your answer from that, a lot of people think that SMU is only about foreign missions and going overseas. So how would you help people get involved with ministry or discipleship who do not feel called to go overseas?
Yeah, that's such a great question. I really believe that like people, like whatever people's field of study is, that is like totally a mission field for them. And I just want them to see that it's not so much about going across the sea, but it's about seeing the cross. And it's about knowing that you're a missionary because Jesus has given you a mission and you love him, and so he's called you. Like, you already are a missionary, and so don't get into the mindset of like, oh, like only the people overseas are spiritual. No, like you are a missionary right now. And so I think the gospel training workshops would really help people like get out of their fear of sharing the gospel, and it would equip them like, hey, like I can actually take the good news of Jesus and share it with the people in my workplace in the future. And then going out into the community in groups would really help people as well. And so, yeah, I think just kind of like shattering that belief by providing opportunities where it equips people to share the good news, because that's totally like a lie that people believe, that, oh, like I don't know, I have to go overseas to be a missionary. And so I have spent quite a bit of time just like going out into the community and doing that. I want to take students with me to do that and just make that not just like a this year thing, but really sustain that and have Bible students going around into this community to share Jesus. So, yeah.
All right, last question. How are students at Biola, how is the student body going to know that you personally care for them as SMU president?
Well,
the second to last one, I want to.
Okay. don't know, maybe if they meet me, they'll know that I care for them. I love people, and I really do care about students here. And so, like I said, I don't want to always just be in my office, but I want to be interacting with students around campus and getting to know them. And that's like always my heart. I feel like I'm not a person who kind of stays in a clique and stuff, and so I really would want to interact a lot with students and get to know them and care for them and love them. So that's my heart, and I hope that I would, as president, I could create that culture for my staff so that they really want to get to know students and love on students. Every student is a miracle, honestly. Like every person in this right here has the Holy Spirit living inside of them. It's crazy, and I just want us to see each other as image bearers of God and really value each other. And so I want to create that culture in SMU. So, yeah.
You mentioned having surveys put out about what people thought about SMU. So how are you going to reach people within Biola who are not connected or informed about things in SMU?
How are you going to reach people who are not connected or informed? I don't know. I think the surveys will help because I'll get to know what people think. But I also think doing stuff like having a table out in front of the CAF, you know, where people can just ask questions, like have SMU representatives there. I think that would be helpful. Yeah, and just making a push to be outside the office more. I mean, it is important to be in the office too. There's a lot of things that need to get done. But I do just want to be available for students and kind of, yeah, sit at a table outside and pray for people and get to know people in that way. So, yeah.